Okay, so we're looking at the new school version of the armpit lock, or using the armpit lock, which is a good approach when the weapon's in your face like this, you're staring down the barrel. Now also, one of the advantages of taking this approach is you're naturally, without having to worry about it, you're taking the weapon pretty far down, so I'm well out of the field of fire. I want to pull him down and towards me. So remember, I want to have my lead hand move slightly first and try and get as close to the trigger as you can. At the same time, this one's coming in, and then I'm either going to base forward or backwards, like this or like this. All right, depending on how much distance is between you. For example, if you're a little closer and his arm is bent, you can still use this technique, but you're going to have a harder pull because you need him to straighten that arm up. All right, now the advantage of the new school stuff that we talked about here is if for some reason this lock isn't working, I didn't get deep enough, or he starts to pull his arm back, I've got control of the weapon. I've got that finger lock, maybe if he's got the safety trigger, but I definitely have the thumb grip here, and I can strip this away. Okay, so that's one of the advantages of the new school, is that you can work directly against the gun. You don't have to worry about the locks. You've got at least two different lines of defense on there. Okay, so again, I'm gripping the front and the back of the weapon is a good approach. All right, so this one's going here. At the same time, this one's going to come here, and it can block the hammer. Now, simply as leverage, you can see that it's very difficult. Make your grip as strong as you can. I've got a lot of leverage. You're going to peel this thing right out of his hand. That's the advantage of the new school. Just be aware, though, that you don't want to be like this. Okay, although I'm out of the line of fire, I can still be in the field of fire. If there's a discharge, again, I can lose my eye, I could go deaf here. So you want to be pulling this thing down. At this point, if it goes off, unless it's a really, really high caliber weapon, which is with a handgun, it's probably unlikely I'm going to have any ill effects from here. And I can, now at this point, you see how his arm is already bending. I'm a little far away. Probably better, instead of trying to do the lock, just continue taking the weapon away. And then if he pulls back, we're going to look at that in the next segment. So remember, we're making the moves slightly one ahead of the other. This is going to move first, this is slightly after, and my step either forward or back into base happens just a hair after, so that you're not making a big motion. It's subtle, and through training you'll see, and I really suggest you start using airsoft guns once you've gotten beyond your muscle memory phase, which is your first 1,000 repetitions or 2,000. You can start seeing the difference when you do it, and see how these subtle differences in how you move really help. Now again, to show the thumb, anytime I'm grabbing this hand, can be gripping the thumb. All right, just like we do in the original self-defense empty hand section, which is good. So you already, if you're taking this program, you're a student of mine, you're already well aware of these basic principles here. So again, he puts the gun on me. Here. I got the lock. For some reason, I didn't get far enough down on his elbow, so I know the lock isn't taking, but I've got a grip directly on the weapon. Okay, it's pointing at him. I can peel it off. And as we talked about, unless you're extremely proficient with the weapon at this range, I wouldn't confuse yourself thinking about how to use it. Start attacking the guy with the weapon is a lot easier and cuts out a lot of the tactical decisions that you're trying to make. Standing here, within arm's distance and start trying to rack it. What's he doing in this moment? He very well could. So if you're not familiar with firearms, don't even think about using it as a firearm. And remember, think about the Carlos the Jackal example from the 70s that we talked about, when he was disarmed by an untrained guy, and while he was trying to figure out how to use the safety, Carlos the Jackal was able to use his other gun and kill him. So if you're able to put a gun in your hand, although instinctively it seems like a pretty simple thing, you've got the power, you've got the gun, but whatever you've just done to this guy, he can now do to you because he's very close. So to make this tactically simple and viable, once I've got this weapon, I'm not even going to think of using it. You don't know if it's a real gun, you don't know if it's loaded, you don't know if you just dysfunctioned it, especially if there's a discharge, maybe the brass got caught in there. A lot of guns are strange. The Glock, for example, has a safety on the trigger, for example. If you've never seen that, it's going to take you how long to figure that out while the guy is trying to take his gun back. So it's a lot simpler than starting to think you're in a cowboy movie when you've never fired a firearm. It's a lot simpler.